The war in Ukraine has sent shockwaves across the world. Even in countries as far as Senegal, where I am now, have felt the impact, from gas prices to food supplies. I'm going to tell you how this country in West Africa has been impacted. And it all starts with bread. We are talking about baguettes, this long and crusty bread that the French introduced in its former African colonies. It's a simple mix of wheat flour, yeast, salt, and water. Baguettes are hugely popular in Senegal. In fact, around 10 million baguettes are sold every day in this country of 17 million people. But the war in Ukraine is threatening the Senegalese romance with the French baguette, because most of the wheat used to make baguettes was imported from Russia. And here is where the story gets a bit complicated. The West imposed sanctions on Russia, everything from banks to semiconductors to vodka. Wheat was supposed to be exempt from sanctions, but here's the reality. Shipping companies were reluctant to do business as usual with Russia. They didn't want to be called out for violating sanctions. Banks were under pressure too. The sanctions made it more difficult to convert payments from dollars to rubles. So the supply of Russian wheat got more scarce and prices skyrocketed. Ukraine, which is also one of the top wheat producers in the world, had its grain stock imports in the Black Sea, which was controlled by Russian ships. As a result of all this, countries around the world, including in Africa, saw rising food prices. In the case of Senegal, for example, it looked toward other countries such as Lithuania, Poland, and Argentina to buy wheat, and it was willing to pay higher prices. Still, the government here fixed the price of baguettes so consumers could still afford them. Wheat importers were supposed to get financial help from the government, but many are still waiting for it. Then a breakthrough came in the summer of last year.
Russia and Ukraine signed an agreement today to unblock grain that's been stuck in Ukraine's Black Sea ports for months now.
Turkey and the United Nations negotiated the Black Sea Grain Initiative with Russia, and it allowed Ukrainian wheat and other grains to finally be shipped safely. A separate agreement allowed for easier movement of Russian food commodities and fertilizer. That all helped bring down grain prices and alleviate fears of a global food crisis. But then last month, more trouble.
Today, Russia officially withdrew from the Black Sea Grain Initiative.
When the grain deal was up for renewal, Russia walked away from it. Ukrainian sea and river ports and other key infrastructure have been targeted by Russian drone and missile strikes. At this point, it's not clear if the Black Sea Grain Initiative can come back. Senegal has been able to resume most wheat imports from Russia, and prices have slowly returned to normal. But one thing this crisis has done is raise awareness about the risks of being so dependent on wheat imports. This is the only bakery in Senegal that makes bread using 100% locally grown wheat. They make baguettes, but they also make other pastries that incorporate local products such as corn, millet, and leaves from a tree called moringa. This is not only a bakery, but it's also a school where students are learning agricultural techniques to produce local wheat. And this is part of a very ambitious project here in Senegal to reduce the country's dependency on imported grain. Earlier this year, the government started new policies to try to help local grain producers. For example, by 2025, all bakeries in Senegal have to use at least 20% of domestic grains in the bread they make. Researchers and entrepreneurs are also experimenting with new varieties of wheat that can grow in tropical climates. This is just the beginning of what could be a long-term experiment. It may need big financial investments to pull off, but if it works, it will mean affordable baguettes for a population that loves them.